All right, everybody, it's the baseball head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, Hundley. Welcome back to the baseball head, too, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. This video, we're going to talk about some managerial vacancies and people that could be going, guys that be getting jobs soon, and a couple of things with the Cubs and the Cardinals. The Cubs are still playing. A lot of weird videos they've been doing the last couple of days about teams still in the playoffs and trade rumors. Very strange. But here's the first rumor, and this comes from NESN MLB Rumors. Funny you should mention that. AL East rival targeting former Red Sox standout for manager. Now, who could this be? Former Boston Red Sox catcher David Ross could be ticketed for a return to the American League East. That's because Ross, who previously managed the Chicago Cubs, could be on the Baltimore Orioles' short list of candidates to replace interim manager Tony Manzolino, who took over for the fired Brandon Hyde in May. Quote, the Giants, like the Braves and Orioles, offer an open position for a team that is expected to be in win now mode. The Athletics' Brittany Giroli reported Tuesday. Should the O's choose to focus on managerial experience after the rookie hired David Ross, who told The Athletic last week he wanted to manage again, as an intriguing possibility. Ross could also be a fit for the Braves, though the Braves have not yet begun asking for permission for interviews as of Monday. Atlanta gave Brian Schnitker's coach permission to interview for other jobs, though bench coach Walt Weiss expected to get consideration as Schnitker's successor. The Orioles are a little further ahead in the process than the Braves, though. They, like several other teams, may choose to wait until the postseason ends to interview candidates from teams still playing. The Baltimore Banner's Andy Koska added to the intrigue on Sunday, noting the Orioles considered Ross for Baltimore's bench coach 1 year ago. Last week, Ross admitted he's interested in Atlanta after the Braves parted ways with Snicker. So that was a surprise that Snicker went bye-bye. Because there was all kinds of talk that he was probably going to stick around another year. I don't know where he's going to go. I'd love to manage again, Ross said. Obviously, Atlanta would be amazing, but there's nothing to really elaborate on. I don't want to talk about something that doesn't have any legs yet. Hopefully my name pops up, but we'll wait and see on that. Now, the thing is about Ross is Ross did a pretty good job in Chicago, and he got fired because the Cubs decided to bring in Craig Counsell, who got millions of dollars, became the highest paid manager in baseball history, and in the first year they didn't even make the playoffs. So you spend all that money and you didn't make it. I felt kind of bad for Ross because Ross, basically had the rug pulled under him, and it was a shock when Counsell went to Chicago and didn't sign with the Mets or went somewhere else. I mean, it was a real shocker. And then, Counsell had to double back and said, oh, no, I didn't do it to hurt my friend. And, really embarrassed himself. But it's dog eat dog in this world. Next up is this Cubs rumor, and this comes from Cubby's Crib. MLB Insider emphatically slams the door on potential Kyle Tucker reunion. During the Cubs' Game 2 loss, Jesse Rogers made one thing abundantly clear. Okay, let's see what he had to say. When the Cubs sent top prospect Cam Smith to the Astros in a trade package for Kyle Tucker last winter, all signs pointed to Jed Hoyer finally pushing his chips in. Fans expected it was the first of many moves to come, either late in the winter or this summer's trade deadline, but that's not been the case. Hoyer and the Chicago front office instead clung to their marginal valued obsessed way of thinking, admittedly doing a nice job filling out the bullpen with high-dollar long-term additions, but falling well short of fans' expectations when the Tucker trade initially happened. And if you think that's about to change, MLB insider Jesse Rogers has some oceanfront property in central Illinois he'd like to sell you. No, they were never going to. Anyone that said different was wrong. With everyone anxiously awaiting the start of, Rogers somewhat casually dropped his gem on X, saying the Cubs were never going to re-sign Tucker. And I tried to point home even further, added, anyone that said different was wrong. Really interesting. What Rogers is saying, and in and of itself, isn't a surprise, or at least it should be. The Cubs, one of the most valuable sports franchises in the world, have given out just one $100 million contract in the last 7 years. Dansby Swanson's 7-year, $177 million pact in 23. When given opportunities to be aggressive, time and time again they shy away, instead focusing on value adds and gambles. You signed Tucker, who, despite his injury-riddled and largely ineffective second half, could command $400 million in the open market this offseason and should be viewed as a complete impossibility. It's a hard truth to swallow, but one that only a fool would talk himself into. After all, Chicago's never, ever even given out a $200 million deal. You mean to tell me they're going to double that up this winter? Okay, sure. Right, it's very sarcastic. A layer in the fact the team has built in successors already on the roster, and Moises Ballesteros, Owen Casey, and Seiya Suzuki, and the writing's on the wall. Kyle Tucker isn't coming back, and on the north side of Chicago, the goal is simply to be good enough to get into the postseason. There is no World Series of bust mentality, and it's unlikely such a mindset will ever be adopted under this ownership of front office. Now, here's the thing. They won, okay? This is the one thing. Once you win, what happens afterwards, it's always a sort of an interesting thing to sort of look upon. This was a major drought the Cubs had. I mean, that's the drought in Major League Baseball history, even bigger than the Boston Red Sox, because they didn't go to the World Series since 1945. So they went like 71 years without going to the World Series, let alone win the World Series. So that was a major drought that they ended in 2016. And they came awfully close to losing that World Series because of Joe Mann's screwy managing that in that final game. But the Cubs have no sense of urgency like they did. They didn't bring in a big general manager like they did before that, obviously. And, you know, they won their championship, and that is gone. That's it. That's it at this point. That's it. All right, next up is the Cardinals. It's from MLB Trade Rumors. Cardinals have received trade interest and catching depth. Quote, other teams have asked about the many catches in the Cardinals organization. Derek Gould of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch wrote as part of a lengthy chat with readers. No specific names are mentioned yet, since youngsters Jimmy Crooks and Leonardo Bernal seem pretty untouchable at the moment. Ivan Herrera, Pedro Pajes, and Yobo Pozo are the likely trade candidates to varying degrees. While the focus of the Cardinals offseason will be moving veteran talent and creating opportunities for young players, the wide-ranging nature of this rebuild means that President Baseball Operations Chaim Bloom is likely to explore every possible avenue for upgrading the roster. Given this youth movement, it is safe to assume that Bernal and Crooks aren't going anywhere unless Bloom swings a relatively rare prospect for prospect type of trade. The Cardinals could conceivably package one of their own prospects along with a higher-priced veteran like Nolan Arenado or Sonny Gray to convince a rival club to take on more salary, yet dealing a well-regarded prospect just to save money isn't happening unless the other team also offers a good prospect package that can more broadly address the Cardinals' needs. I'll tell you, the Cardinals certainly have fallen off, over the last few years. And Chaim Bloom is not a guy that makes major moves, but he does build good farm systems. He built a good farm system with the Red Sox. So they'll build a good farm system, and then they'll have to be forced to get him out of there, like the Red Sox did. And finally in this video, the San Francisco Giants. They fired their manager, Bob Melvin. They told him to hit the pound sand after 2 seasons. That didn't work out. Buster Posey told him to get out, to take his catching equipment, get the hell out of here. But they have a managerial opening, and the name that's popped up is Nick Hundley. I'll read through this. This is from a few days ago. And of course, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. This is from the 5th. It says, Giants get their managerial search underway on Bob Melvin's recent dismissal. It's just a firing. John Heyman, the New York Post, reports that catcher Nick Hundley is strongly in the mix for the job. It's unclear whether Hundley has interviewed for the position, which he did on the next day. It's unclear whether he has interviewed, but he has. But the fact that his name has come up so clearly is nonetheless notable. Hundley is 42, is a big league catcher for parts of 12th season and serves the Giants' primary backup to Buster Posey for the 2017 and 2018 seasons. After serving under Posey as part of the team's catching tandem It now appears Posey is interested in bringing Hundley in to serve as the manager now that he's become San Francisco's president of baseball operations. Hundley immediately jumped into an on-the-field role with the league upon announcing his retirement in 2020 as he became a senior director of baseball operations with the commissioner's office. He spent 2 years in that role before departing the league office to take up a job in the Rangers organization, where he serves as a special assistant to president of baseball operations, Chris Young. Hundley won a World Series in the organization in 23, and during that playoff run was actually a candidate to manage the Giants when then president of baseball operations, Farhan Zaldi, was looking to replace Gabe Kapler in the dugout. At the time, it was reported that Hundley had withdrawn himself from consideration before receiving an interview due to family considerations. He talked to both Zaldi and Posey himself about the role before making that decision, however, indicating that he had at least some level of interest. Now, it seems like he has a lot of interest now. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. Whatever the case may be regarding Hundley's candidacy, he's far from the only person the Giants will talk to about their managerial gig. Former All-Star, longtime Oakland A's catcher Kurt Suzuki is known to have interviewed for the position. Former Giants coach Craig Abernathy, now in Cleveland as Stephen Voigt's bench coach and associate manager, is expected to get a look for the job as well. It's worth noting that all three of Hundley, Suzuki, and Abernathy have connections to the Bay Area, though that may not necessarily be something Posey is looking for specifically in the next manager. Well, we got some managerial jobs, we got some rumors here. You let me know what you think about this video here. Of course, please subscribe to Baseball Part 2 here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.